Welcome to the latest episode of A Better Conversation, a podcast put on by Better Dallas. As always, I'm your host, Chris Clement, joined here today by the well-dressed man, myth, legend, and mustache, Mr. Kyle Mason.
Yes, I am excited, and no, I'm not trying to ask your mother on a date. We're just going to talk about some news and I guess hunting down Democrats or something.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think any mother would say you were a sharply dressed young man. My grandma would probably want you to shave the beard, but she would also shave the mustache, but she would want me to shave the beard. Grandma, I love you. We're not doing that. But yes, so, we're coming here in the middle of this Texas special session. And the big sort of news is Democrats have fled the Capitol. They have fled to Illinois. They have fled to California. They have left the state. And why? Because they don't want to vote on redistricting. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also talk about a couple of other current events that are going on and kind of get into some of the weeds on or details on what the Republicans have the ability to do to reestablish quorum to keep the special session going. So, but first, Kyle's been a man of travel recently. Recently traveled to was it Nashville?
Nashville, Tennessee.
What were you in Nashville
Nashville,
for?
Tennessee. I was there for the Young Republicans National Convention. I was a delegate for the state of Texas, and it was quite the experience. Some negatives, some positives, and I think moving forward as an organization, we are ready to grow. And, we acknowledged, I think, just everyone in general acknowledged a lot of our shortcomings. And we kind of all took a round turn and decided, hey, moving forward, this is what we need to do. It's so, when you, for instance, Republican Party, we had this huge victory, right? Trump, the Senate, the House, and now we're kind of getting in the weeds of actually governing and what we want for results. And there's a bunch of side quests going on, and people are feeling like things aren't being fulfilled in the state of Texas and then nationally. And this is where the bickering starts, and people start to hate on each other or try to actively sabotage each other. And I'm always down for a really good argument or debate and a vote. But it's really important that afterwards, we kind of pack up. Okay, that was it. And then, we move forward smartly. I don't feel like there's that many grievances that people have brought up over the last couple of days at the YR convention that really justifies the talking of, well, we're just going to go out and make our own new thing, or I'm going to take my ball and go home. I mean, you can always do that.
Right.
You can always do that.
As we've seen here in Texas.
Yes, you can always do that. And again, that's a choice for everyone to make. But I was really nonpartisan the entire time I went there. I really appreciated everyone telling me their takes on what the last couple years have held for them and why they don't feel good about it, or why they really feel good about it, or what they'd like to see different. So we will leave it at that, but I am hopeful that in the very near future, maybe we can get some YRs to talk more about it, because as y'all know, and as you know, I go to YRs socially. I get involved in a few of their get-togethers, but really A Better Dallas is kind of where I focus, and I have put a lot of my free time that was towards politics now into this podcast in the hope that we bring y'all really good information, hyper-localized, Dallas and then in Texas, and we find people in this area that want to really sharpen their axe on the grindstone and get some things done.
Well, that's noble of you. I don't go to wire things anymore because I am too old. I am no longer a young Republican. I am just a Republican.
You're just now a Republican.
Just now a Republican. But you touched on a little bit just now, and something kind of brought to my mind is, we, as a country, we used to value elections because it gave us some sort of closure, right? We have a campaign season. Everybody says their piece. They support the candidates they want to support. And then we get to a point where we have a vote, it's tallied, and we have some finality. And I just feel like, I don't know if it was caused by cable news, I don't know if it's because of the internet,
It's the internet.
but man, we just don't have that anymore. Like, you have an election, and then it's almost like an afterthought immediately. It's like, okay, well, I still don't like this person. I still want to support them being in that office. And so I'm immediately getting ready to get rid of them the next time around. As opposed to, as a society, being able to say, okay, here is who my neighbors, here's who my fellow residents, here's whoever selected as part of our leadership. Let's hope they succeed, because we want to succeed as a society.
Yep.
Or if you're talking about like an organization, I'd hope that if you were at the Young Republican Convention and your person didn't win, your answer wasn't, well, I'm out. It was, okay, well, I had a vision, it didn't succeed, so let me support and try to make whoever is in office now as successful as possible. And then at the end of their term, when the next election comes around, if I think that things didn't go well, right? Because that's the thing, is it almost presupposes failure. If things didn't go well, then at that time, I'm going to start gearing up to have my new vision.
Yeah, no, that is a really good point. I also would say this too, and this is just kind of me being a, again, just trying to be like nonpartisan or bipartisan within the Republican group. I do feel like, hey, even though those people might have lost, like for instance, YR Restore, I mean, they pretty much lost the entire election. I don't think any of their people got picked up any of the positions, but not by much. And so that really would send a signal that, like, hey, maybe it is incumbent upon the group that did win, YR Grow YR, maybe they should listen a little bit more intently and give them their time of day. We don't want to, hey, you lost, so you're not going
Right.
to, it's not mob rule.
100%. Right? I mean, you lost the election, but you still have a voice. There still is a constituency that follows you, that likes what you want to say. That's like a type of humble leadership, right? To be able to sit there and say, yeah, this is my mission, this is my vision. But through the course of the election, I learned a lot of people don't share that. So yeah, that's a good takeaway as well. But turning to Texas.
Turning to
the Texas special session. So as we've talked about on the podcast before, in Texas, we have sort of 2-year cycles of our legislature, and every 2 years, the legislature is supposed to convene for 5-6 months, roughly 6 months. They go down to Austin. That's the time they have to vote on the bills. The rest of the 2-year period, they're not in session officially down in Austin, having votes and doing all that sort of stuff. If at the end of the regular session, the governor thinks that there are issues that still need to be addressed, he has the ability to call a special session. And that's what Governor Abbott did this cycle. And there were 16 issues, and we won't go down them all. We've done that before. There are 16 issues that were highlighted. They range from everything from property taxes to flood relief for Central Texas to, what the big one obviously is redistricting, which was a late addition.
Right.
So on redistricting, typically speaking, states redistrict about every 10 years. You go through the census, and then in response to the census, states will either be add or lose seats in Congress. And then the states also have their local statewide races and things along those lines. Well, in response to the census every 10 years, the states will redraw district lines. Generally speaking, the party in power when that happens is the one that has the authority to largely redraw the lines. They're the committee heads. They're the ones that have a majority of votes in the legislature to pass or not pass certain maps. That's the normal way that it's done, the sort of typical way that it's done. So there's a couple of things that are a little different right now. So one of the things is in Texas, there was a call to redistrict in the state of Texas. And it's funny because one of the initial calls to redistrict in the state of Texas actually came from the Biden administration. Because when Texas adopted its map in 2021, the Biden Department of Justice said that it was unconstitutional, it was wrong, it was discriminatory. Well, I guess it wasn't unconstitutional. It violated the Voter Rights Act. It was racist and discriminatory and all of these things.
Right.
They filed a lawsuit about it, a lawsuit that actually very recently went to trial in the state of Texas. They filed a federal lawsuit, the Department of Justice did, pursuing these allegations the Biden administration did that the Texas maps were bad. So Governor Abbott said, okay, well, if my maps are so bad, we'll redraw them.
We'll redraw them.
And that obviously also came in line with Trump wanting to redraw the district lines to add more seats, to have greater control in Congress. So that was added to the special session. And the reason that the Texas legislature gets to do that is because of the Constitution, which says that states get to control how their elections are conducted in accordance with, constitutional law and federal statutes. And so this is where Texas has the ability to draw its lines. It gets even lower on lower levels. So, for example, in the counties, your counties for your county court of commissioner seats in Texas also have the ability to redraw district lines every so often.
Yeah.
That's just part of the electoral process. So what happened here? It gets added to the legislative agenda. This is what we're going to do during the special session. Knowing that Republicans had a map, knowing that Republicans had the votes to pass the map, Democrats in the Texas legislature decided that they were going to flee the state.
Run!
They were going to leave Texas. Why would they do that? So that the legislature cannot establish quorum. You need a certain 66 or 2/3 of the legislature, of the members of the legislature, have to be present for there to be quorum, which means for the body to be able to cast any sort of votes. Dems fled to prevent there from being that 2/3 present. So right now, the legislature down in Austin can hold meetings, they can do all sorts of stuff, but they can't take official action, they can't pass bills, they can't pass the redistricting map, anything like that. Kyle, what do you think about that tactic?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I think it's very, very, very childish. It has effectively stopped the process, but we've seen the Texas Democrats do this time and time again. Once, like during COVID, they all got on the bus or the plane, they were drinking beer without a mask. That was a joy to see. I think we're at this point in America now, though, like where there's actually not going to be any negative repercussions from their voting base.
Yeah. Sure.
It's a sad thing. It's like, hey, you're running away from your job, or you're like not doing your job. If a judge like didn't want to make a ruling on a case and just decided not to show up for work for a couple of weeks, or you go down the list. It's like you have to show up and you have to do your job, which is not a wild concept, especially in the state of Texas. Like, hey, show up and do your job. But I do think that it's not quite clear. I mean, Greg Abbott says that he has many recourses that he can take. Currently, the Texas Department of Safety is out looking for these people.
Right.
They're already out of state, though. To my understanding, they're hiding, or they're on vacation in Chicago. He's also saying that they've committed felonies by a quid pro quo, by receiving money, private donations, because they're getting fined every day, correct?
Right.
They cannot pay those fines with their political donations.
Right.
And so people are giving them money directly to...
They're fundraising for that.
They're fundraising for that. And some
This is
people...
what the allegation is.
Some people would say that that is a bribe to directly not do their job
Right.
on behalf of that. I don't really know. I don't really know about that. I mean, if I gave someone money to vote a certain way, I just call that lobbying. Or would it be illegal for somebody to send you money and say, hey, I'd actually like for you to abstain from voting?
They can certainly advocate for their position with you, but it's not allowed to be like a direct quid pro quo.
Okay. Okay, so there's that. Now, Chris, are we going to send Dog the Bounty Hunter up to Illinois, handcuff these people, throw them in the back of a white bus, drive them all the way down to Austin, and then bring them out Hannibal Lecter style into the middle of it. Be like, okay, now we got 2/3. They're all in the room. Lock the door. Like, I mean, where do we go with this? Like, what are we doing with this thing?
Well, so the first thing, why do they flee the state?
Yes.
So the reason they flee the state is one of the first things that was done. So yesterday, as we're recording this, yesterday at 3:00, the session officially started. Really, the first thing that happened when the session started is there were warrants issued, civil warrants, not criminal warrants. A civil warrant for the arrest of these missing legislatures was passed. They were signed by Speaker Dustin Burrows, who took a very hard stance against what was happening. What that means is that you can now send out the Texas Rangers, which Governor Abbott has, to go try to execute these civil warrants, which means if you find these Democrat legislatures here in the state of Texas, they can be placed under arrest and transported down to Austin to the legislature to be at the House to do their job, to do their work. So that is what the initial sort of step of things can be. This is why they fled the state, because obviously the Texas Rangers don't have the jurisdiction to go to Illinois, to go to New York, to go to any of these places to arrest and then bring those people back into Texas. So that's why they fled the state. So this is where Governor Abbott went to phase 2, or is at least, I guess, hinted. I guess he's directly said that he intends to execute on phase 2.
Yes.
So what phase 2 would be, all right, well, these people are actually abandoning their office.
Yeah.
Not only are they just not showing up here in Texas, they have fled the state. They are affirmatively abandoning their obligations and their duties as a legislator to show up for the special session. So with that being the case, there is a process that can be followed. It is actually, I think it's Chapter 66 of the Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code.
Ooh, boy, write that down.
That's right. Quo warranto is generally what it's called, and it's a process to be able to determine whether somebody has abandoned their office. And that is what Governor Abbott, through his press statements or through his releases, has said that he intends to do. If these people do not come back, if they do not report back to Austin, then they will go through the proceedings to have them removed. It's a legal proceeding. You have to file in the district where these people are located. This is something that the Attorney General's office can do. This is something that local district attorneys or things along those lines can do. So this is where the next step in the process would be if we're really, really playing hardball. And then the question after that is, great. So the governor gets to appoint people, right? We have abandoned offices. We have special elections. The governor can appoint to fill in the interim, all that sort of stuff. The governor has taken it so far that they have a training scheduled later in August in Austin, a boot camp for people that want to fill these abandoned positions, sponsored by Governor Abbott, which you can see on the Better Dallas Instagram page.
Yes, I was looking
story,
at that,
I think.
and I thought maybe me and this mustache need to go down there
Hey.
and find a Democratic seat to take.
You're in, which House district are you in?
Oh, I don't know why you asked me that, because I
I
don't
think
know.
you're in HD 70, right? No, you're in Angie Chin Button's district, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Doesn't
going to run
apply
against
to you.
Angie Chin Button.
I now live in House District 70, which is Mihala,
Yep.
who is one of them that has fled. So I don't know. I'll take an appointment.
So you're saying, okay, a couple things. One, I want to get back to Burrows, because there's a lot to say about that. But if this second point that we just made, I think is so much more legitimate than like the idea that we're gonna have police officers put handcuffs on these people, and then like escort them into the house. I just, that's not gonna happen. I just don't see that happening. I don't know. I will do something if that happens.
I mean, that's the law.
That's the law. I
That's the law.
I don't actually see that happening, but I do think that this is a much more reasonable case, like in the fact of, okay, you're abandoning your post, and there's 62 Democrats, And so you're saying that he could appoint 62 in the interim of the, if they, let's say they file this paperwork and get it done. Like
Right.
hypothetically, we're living in La La Land right now. Files the paperwork, they are vacated from the seat. Texas Supreme Court says yes, he can 62 people he can appoint. So it'd be 100. It'd be all Republicans.
Well, so that's the thing that I'm not entirely sure about, if they can all be appointed or if they would then be up for a special election.
Yeah.
Usually the governor does have the ability to appoint if there are vacant seats. So like, for example, when Glenn Hagar stepped down as the why is this escaping me now? It's the race there, or the comptroller, for the Texas comptroller. When he stepped down from the Texas comptroller, Governor Abbott was able to appoint Kelly Hancock until there is another election for that open seat.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I don't know specifically if it's the governor has the option of either appointing or doing a special election, or if it would require a special election. Because I do know there's been other times where a House rep or a state senator has resigned or retired, and there's been a special election to fill that seat. So honestly, I'm not entirely sure which of the two options there are. Obviously, the appointment option would be a coup. I don't mean that in like a COUP way, but it would be a great deal for the Republicans to be able to say, oh, great, well, we now have 40 or 50 or however many new Republicans. Because here's the practical way that fleshes itself out.
Right.
Once those proceedings begin, I think the Democrats would just come back.
They're just going to come back.
Right? They would just come back.
They're just going to come back. That's the thing.
But the other side of it, and this is the thing that's absurd about this whole we're going to flee the state angle, Governor Abbott can just keep calling special sessions.
Right. It can never end.
He can just keep calling the special sessions and keep calling them back and do whatever he needs to do on that front. So
I had a master chief that in dive school, and he just said the beatdowns will continue until morale improves. And I think that's what kind of he should take here. Abbott should take that track, and I think that's going to be really good for everybody.
Okay, so let me take the devil's advocate position.
All right.
Right.
Here we go.
We don't have a Democrat in the room. We don't have a Democrat on the podcast. Is this a good look for the Republican Party as a whole with general voters? We know the Republican base generally loves this move, but is the idea of just plainly politically redrawing the districts in Texas to gerrymander a 3, 4, however many additional seats, is that something that the general public is going to be bothered by?
The general public is going to be bothered by this. Yes.
So is it worth the additional 3 seats for the next term?
Well, the pie in the sky actually says 5 seats. We're going five seats. And again, I don't believe that, but no, I don't think it is worth it. Just based off your first question, I'll get to the second point. No, I think people are looking at this and saying, well, hold on. Generally, once they read about it, like, well, it looks like we kind of do it every 10 years after the census. The argument is, oh, so many people have moved to Texas. Yeah, but it hasn't been that many in the last X amount where you're going to redistrict everything. It is clearly a political stunt being pushed from Donald Trump on up, right? And he's pulling all of his strings. I think that, once again, he's walked into a quagmire where it's going to look bad. Right. And ultimately, other states are now going to do this. And I've already starting to see these other states tally up. Republicans can very easily come up short on this entire thing. Here's the funny part. Republicans have such a thin majority because Donald Trump, when he got into office, him being the Florida guy and him being the House of Representatives guy, just kept pulling from the House of Representatives to the point where our House Speaker, Mike Johnson, was like, dude, for the love of God. Well, he wasn't at the time, was he? Anyways, please stop taking all the House of Representative people. We're going to have a margin of 1 or 2. I still have to wait for all these special elections to shake out.
Right.
And as of right now, there's still, I just looked at, there's still 4 to 8 seats. It said four Democrat, 4 Republican seats that are empty. For one, a lot of these people, they have to like stand down for health reasons
Right.
and whatnot. It's one of the oldest Congresses in history, but Republicans can come up short big on this, and this is going to be Trump. And when that happens, Trump's going to say the Democrats are cheating and they're this and they're that and then that. It's like, no, dude, you started this. Texas had delivered more than enough to the Republican Party in the state and nationally, and we're just really trying to squeeze it. Now, the map actually looks better.
I agree.
The map looks better as far as like not all the funny districts, but
there are still some funny districts.
they're still fun. Yeah, there's still some, but they're not like so crazy. But regardless of that point, it's just, this is not the move, man.
Well, I would say that would be the concern that I would bring about this is not only does this, have issues with the general public, where the general public's like, I don't want to play these games.
Right.
But then the other question is, when other states like California and New York or all the different, have we just set off a redistricting arms race?
Every 2 years, we're just going to be hammering this thing.
Right. Not only that, but also just right now, where we're going to see state legislatures across the country are going to try to like gerrymander as much as they can in their areas. And then here's the real thing from my perspective. Is this the thing that might actually get people riled up enough to put an end to gerrymandering? And I know that putting an end to gerrymandering is a pie in the sky type of statement. It's the same thing as like saying like end crime.
Right. Someone's got to draw the line somewhere.
Someone's got to draw the line somewhere. There's going to be lines that look weird always. You're not going to just take a state and just do equal lines or that sort of stuff, because then you're going to have certain areas that look at the way that people protest about the Senate, right? I think if you look at the way that the Senate is made up and the House is made up, you can kind of see why there's always going to be some weirdly shaped districts.
Yeah.
Because people complain about the Senate that, everybody gets 2 seats. And so you have some areas like, Alaska, that's a huge area that's not all that well populated with 2 votes. And then you've got something like New York State that's got a ton of people. It's a little bit more densely populated in areas, and they only have two Senate seats. If you were to just like evenly draw your district lines for a state like Texas, you would end up having big swaths of the panhandle with a congressperson and not a proportional amount of voters.
Yeah.
And then you'll have areas like Dallas or Houston or San Antonio where you would have a bunch of people underrepresented. So you're always going to have weird lines drawn to sort of try to evenly distribute the population in all the different districts.
Right. Yeah. In the House of Representatives, each seat is roughly I think it's 800,000 people or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now. I know originally it was supposed to be, there was a number and we sort of abandoned what that number would be. 800,000, a million. I think 800,000 sounds about right.
Well, I tell you what, you started talking about the Senate. It's 761,000. Sorry.
Yeah, about 800,000. That's a good
I did say that. Okay, I don't know. I did the math real quick in my head. I'm like 350 million. That doesn't really.
Right.
But thing about the senators. I think we really need to get rid of the 17th Amendment. Have the senators chosen by the state to properly represent the states. I know this is like a side, not part of this conversation, but the fact that it's like everything in this country is now by popular vote is just, to me, it's kind of separated from state power, and getting rid of the senators, which were supposed to be direct representatives of the state legislature,
right?
Kind of separates that. But regardless of that, boroughs are they gonna get? He's gonna get censured for this? Everyone's like, oh, he's colluding with the Democrats. He just slapped the gavel to try to arrest these people now.
Right.
So all this, we're gonna censure him. He's a Democratic, this and that. It's like, well, no, he's a man of opportunity. He saw an opportunity, he took it, and he won. And it had nothing to do with he's like some kind of sleeper cell,
Right.
and getting censured by all these county parties and this and that. It's like, dude, he just slapped the gavel today of like, hey, we're going to issue civil arrest warrants for these people. That's just like a little side note I wanted to throw out there because I thought that was so rich when I saw that. And all the, the most Republican people right now are just cheering this entire thing now. It's like, huh, that's weird.
Well, I mean, Dallas has already censured him, so
Right.
maybe they take their censure back.
Take
I
it
don't
back.
know.
Take it back. Keep going.
Well, so we kind of talked about some of the issues with redistricting and some of the potential challenges of redistricting. The other part of it is this is part of the frustration that I have with like these are the rules of the game, if you want to put it that way. Like these are the rules for legislation. This is what the law allows you to do. There is no law that says that you're only allowed to redistrict at a certain period of time.
Right.
It's just practically that's what it happens in response to the census. If I am wrong and there is a law, put it in the comments.
I don't think you are. No one. I've heard several people like. There's really not a law. It's just been. That's just kind of how we've done it. Not tradition. Tradition's not the right word, but.
Well, because it makes sense, right? Because it's a practical thing. Hey, we have census, we have new numbers of the people that are living in the state. So now is the time to redraw the lines to make sure that we have an proper representation of the people in the state.
Yes.
There's so much work that the Democrats are ignoring by fleeing over this issue. And it's one of those things where, you run into the issues of putting party over handling your responsibilities.
Yeah.
Because whether or not there are more or less, and I hope it's less and not fewer, because I never remember that, Democrat Congress people from Texas, well, that's a partisan thing. Well, you have real issues that are before the special election, like property taxes, like getting relief to flood victims in Central Texas, like dealing with the THC hemp type of stuff. What's that going to look like? How's the regulatory scheme going to be on that?
Yeah.
I mean, there are getting rid of the statewide tests. There's like real work to be done that matters to people that is just getting placed off to the side over, partisan protection.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That's incredibly frustrating.
Yep.
And I understand that pendulum can swing both ways of saying, well, Republicans, if they would just take redistricting off the table, the Democrats would come back. But that's the opposite way of looking at it, because that's not how the legislative system works. It's just you don't like the results of how the rules apply to the game, so this is the person that gets mad at Monopoly and flips the table.
Oh,
is essentially what the Democrats have done here.
Yes, and we all have those family members. I'm talking to my sisters right now when I destroy them. In Monopoly, my family is very bad at Monopoly.
Oh no, you're a real estate investor. That game is made for you.
Well, and I mean, I've lost too. But like, when you're 2 hours deep, and then they start taunting you, and it's just like the whole thing. You wanna flip the table.
I've actually never made it anywhere near through a game of Monopoly.
Really?
It's like every time I've been with a group of people, we've tried to make it through Monopoly. Like, interest was just lost.
You gotta.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially as an adult, but like we would play like as kids, we can't go anywhere. We're in the house or something like that. That is a long game. But I don't know, maybe like Risk or Settlers of Catan or something like that. That would be a
new table flip moment.
Well, I would be willing to sit down at the table for long enough to really do that. But okay, so to your point. Are we done with the Texas? Do you have any other points on why you shouldn't run away from a legislative fight?
I think one of the biggest issues that we have down in Austin right now, and I think this happened throughout the legislative session. It continues now. Is that I just worry that we're not solving the problems that matter to Texans. Mm-hmm. And I kind of can see this redistricting fight somewhat being that, right? It's just like I don't know of a lot of Texans that were clamoring for us to redistrict right now, other than like hyper partisan type of people.
Right.
But man, like we have to solve the problems that people actually care about. And there is something to the argument of, well, if you really wanted to do redistricting, you could have called a special session just for that. So it's sort of a brinksmanship game on both sides that, I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't care for. I mean, as a Republican, I would love to add 3 to 5 additional Congress people from Texas. I'd love to add 3 to 5, more seats in Congress. I just don't know what that means for the future of the state. If going through this process now, well, what if it costs us 3 to 5 seats because people are upset?
Right, and I
What if we lose Republican support that we've been building in great waves here in Texas? What if we lose some of that support because people are frustrated with this sort of gamesmanship?
I mean, just based off the raw number, it looks like if every other Democratic state wanted to, they could, and we would come up short. Just raw number. Now,
Right.
That doesn't even include what you're saying. It's just kind of like your run-of-the-day voter that gets a whiff of this and is like, wait, what? That's not very, and they would probably say something like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't sound very democratic, or like
Right.
is that really what they're doing? And we had, as far as Texas goes, we had a really good legislative session. Like it felt good. We got a lot done. It felt like there was good momentum. We all left with like, okay, that was solid, right? Got some big things done, which we talked about here, and it's like this, okay, cool, let's do a 30-day special session, and now we're stuck in this thing where I think that the probability of coming away with an L is just as higher or equally as with a win, and that's not really odds I'd be willing to move forward on if I'm already winning.
You know what I'm reminded of at the moment? I'm reminded of the American classic movie of Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And Dr. Malcolm, at one point in the movie, said so eloquently, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Oh, yes.
And this is a sort of, I think, another issue that we have as Americans. Like, we've become very legalistic in our decision making. Is it legally permissible for me to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Well, that's a super low standard. That's an incredibly low standard to set for yourself. Because the thing that made America be able to work and have all of these freedoms is because we had a shared sense of morality, we had a shared sense of ethics, so that we could regulate ourselves in a way where the government didn't have to step in and criminalize everything and pass laws about everything. And I think there's a certain part of American politics that loses some of that right now. Where, yeah, you know what? You've always been able to go in there and gerrymander your state if you're the party in power to get the absolute most amount of seats there. But we've all sort of, in the past, I would say, as Americans generally said, well, we're going to do a little bit of that, but we're not going to do it to the nth degree. Right. We could, but we shouldn't. And so we're going to show some restraint and not gerrymander our state to the nth degree so the party in power gets absolutely every last drop that they can out of it.
Yes. That really what it is. It's just another big squeeze. And it's like, we're already sitting really good. And, it just doesn't seem like the right time to do it. Especially, we're watching polling numbers for the Republican Party, especially with the youth vote and things of that nature. I just doesn't feel good. I mean, we had some other things going on that we could have walked away with even more wins.
If only Thomas Massey had voted along with Trump, Trump wouldn't feel the need to get more seats.
I think Thomas Massey should keep doing what he's doing. I'm looking forward to all that money being burnt on the PAC to try to remove him, and him just winning handedly, and then coming back to Congress and be like, hey, like,
I'm back.
And again, if you want to try to remove me, go ahead, because the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to go feed my chickens.
Right.
So the guy's winning, like, no matter what. And I think that, you need those. I think a well-rounded party actually has those outliers.
Right.
Maybe too many people on the far fringes are not good if their voices get too loud. But I do like having kind of those. He's more libertarian-ish than anything. He's not very like far right as you'd have it. But you were making a point about how when you're focusing on one thing, other things get pushed to the side.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about is Donald Trump, tariffs, and this war in Ukraine.
Okay, let's hear it.
India is buying cheap oil from Russia. We're in the midst of a trade negotiation with India, which is our 10th largest trading partner, if you want to look at that. But more importantly, I think that they're more important for trade as far as, for instance, patent controls.
Right.
Or them ripping off our technology, or the scam calls, which are a massive issue.
And also hilarious when you watch them on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, those people are so good. The patience that they have to sit there and like egg these people on for 2 or 3 hours until they explode.
Right.
So we have this thing. Also, they are a counterbalance against China. They share a very long border, although mountainous, a very long border with China. They are going to have more people than China. Their population is better suited, or as far like a younger population than China. And we're very close, as far as the Trump administration saying, to making a really good trade deal. It's going to be a great deal with India. And then Donald Trump is hurting Americans and spoiling this trade deal for a war in Ukraine that he says we should have nothing to do with. And also, he was going to end in 24 hours, which everyone knew that was hyperbole, including myself. However, his negotiations have failed, and so what he has decided to do is ruin a good trade deal, potentially, and telling India they cannot buy the cheap oil from Russia because that is funding the war machine in Russia. And it's like, okay, I understand what he's doing. I understand the process here. But again, that is hurting Americans by doing so. That war, like he has said, and he said this on the stump, that's not America's war. That's not our war. That's European war. That's the Ukraine war. That's NATO's war. That's Russia's war. That's not our war. But I'm going to end it. And then he makes a really quick deal about the precious minerals there. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but Russia has had a few months that have been pretty good. Some of the land that they have taken have been mines that have been promised to the United States of America. We didn't do shit about it. Okay? So those were supposed to be ours. Our name is on them. Okay? We're underwriting. That was supposed to be our leverage. And they just drove right in. They're like, no, these are ours. And so the whole point here is that, like, if you're making too many promises and you're doing too many things, you're losing sight of the goal. And you're trying to go after something that, like, is not, you're trying to go after something that is not going to have as big as impact as you think. And in politics, we're always going to have another election, and the next midterm is not that far away. And I feel like everywhere I look, people are like focused. I mean, like the Republican Party is just focused on the wrong things. Like, they're just absolutely focused on the absolute wrong things right now. And for Trump, as far as, because he's kind of abandoned the culture war, as far as I'm concerned, with America.
Right.
That he's thrown all that out. Like everyone, including myself. I mean, pretty much what we're going to get out of Donald Trump is, okay, great, we got to keep our tax breaks. The corporations got their tax cuts. Don't worry, the government's going to be more fiscally responsible in 5 years, and that's what the bill says. We're going to be more fiscally responsible in 5 years, and it's going to happen. And for him to start going down the road of affecting his own trade policies is like, what are you going to be left with, dude?
Well, okay, let me take the other side of this. International relations is hard.
No doubt.
Foreign affairs is hard.
No doubt. Couldn't do it.
Because here's the thing, is that you can't take the deal in India in isolation. Because Trump also just had a big deal in Europe.
He had a big deal in Europe.
And got a great deal in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we have a lot of allies in Europe. We have military allies in Europe. We have financial and economic allies in Europe. If it is a European war, they also don't want India funding the Russian war.
Sure.
So there's part of it when you're talking about international relations is that, yeah, this deal with India is not just an isolated us and them deal. It is also part of the overall international community that we're doing deals with. It would not surprise me if there was pressure from the EU, from our European trading partners, that those people benefit Americans by the deals that we have there.
Yeah.
Telling Trump and telling the Trump administration, hey, anything you can do, right?
Help a brother out.
Help us out. Get stop India from giving all this money to Russia.
Yes.
That's the thing about international relations is that it's hard. And this is last week with Chief Justice Koch, we talked about how legal reporting is bad. What's a really hard thing about international relations reporting is because it's not just a bunch of like one-off things that are happening. It's just all intertwined. And
I think it's a really good point. That's definitely something valid to say, hey, he was there talking, and the lady that's in charge of the EU that like struck that deal, a lot of the countries weren't happy about it.
Right.
France was like, what? Wait, hold on. What am I? I'm stuck in this?
Right.
Yes, you are stuck in this. That was very stupid for you to sign up for that. But, okay. Yeah, a lot of them are not happy about it. That kind of tells me that like we probably came out on top on that one, which is fine. I would just be okay with like a fair deal. I don't necessarily like,
Right.
I don't need to like, need to hammer down on them like that. I have nothing against Europeans, but to say that, I think that's totally valid. If EU wanted India to stop buying so much oil from Russia, they don't really have any oil to give them, but
Right.
they could go to India and be like, hey, we're going to stop buying all of your shit if you're not going to stop buying the oil from Russia. I mean, they have a big trade agreement, which I did just look that up. I did not know that. But they have a very large trade with India. And so I feel like, again, it just goes back. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like every time I turn around, it's like us taking the shots for everybody. It's like, what is the war in Ukraine and us helping the EU on behalf to stop India from funding Russia through buying their oil? I don't know why we have to keep taking these hits, and it's just not America. It's just not America first. That's the whole thing. Is like that's what this guy ran on,
but he's never defined it.
He's never defined it.
That's the thing about America First, is Trump has never clearly defined what America First means.
Right. Well, that was by design.
It's vibes.
It's vibes.
And so I think that the Trump administration would probably argue that this is America First. That America First doesn't mean, to your point, that they have to just like win everything all the time.
Yeah.
It's, okay, what is the best overall position that we can be in the world right now? Because I'm not an isolationist.
Yeah.
I think that it is America First for us to be the single global superpower. I think it is worse for America if there are other superpowers at the top if we do have peer superpower nations. So if there is a short-term, and I'm saying this in hypotheticals, I don't know the specifics of it. If you tell me, okay, well, taking a short-term loss on some of the trade stuff with India, where goods coming out of India cost a little bit more, helps protect American supremacy as the sole superpower.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I get it. That's a trade-off. Like, yeah, things will be a little bit more expensive at Walmart and at Target or whatever. But, I think part of this is somewhat of a surprise is, there's a lot of the jobs that you are protesting that need to be American jobs that are outsourced to people for cheaper in India.
Yes.
So you could also probably make the America First jobs argument that higher tariffs on India is good for the American worker.
Higher tariffs on India is good for the American worker, but and this has actually been a problem with all of his trade deals, they're kind of surface level. They really don't go into any legal recourse or anything like that. Like, no American company can go into Vietnam and sue people in Vietnam for manufacturing or ripping off people's technology. None of that's being solved. It's just pure number. We have access to all their economy. They can't do, and then they're gonna have 25% tariff or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. Well, the companies kind of do take a little bit of that tariff on, but ultimately we're paying that, which again, I'm cool with, to agree with your point, if that opens up a space for things to be manufactured in America, that's fine. But it's like, okay, well, if we want to if we're going to just put like 100% tariff on things from India, okay, fine. I guess let's do that. But this whole like back and forth and uncertainty of we're going to give these people extensions, like we're going to give this. It's like, okay, well, why didn't China get hit with the tariff? Like, they're getting a pass right now, and they're actually the biggest buyers of Russian oil and natural gas. Every time I turn on the news, which I actually have been kind of not listening to a lot, just because I'm getting burnt out with just the constant, like, what I see is just L's and like things just kind of not being delivered. I don't know if this is like a build up. Maybe it's all part of the plan, and then like 60 days out from the midterm, it's going to be like, it's like American First Jack in the Box. And all of a sudden we're going to get all the deportations that we were promised, or we're going to get all the fentanyl, we're going to get all this, and the trade deals, and the culture war and everything like that, right?
And they'll finish building the wall.
We're going to finish building.
We kind of forgot that never got done.
That never got done. They are building the wall, but it's like, it's just like taking forever. But anyways, that's something that was very frustrating for me to hear again today. Just like the thing with Canada. The things, the tariffs with Canada, like, oh, you're going to recognize a state of Palestine, like, oh, well, we're going to hit you with tariffs. That one is like, hold on, I'm going to have to pay more for, of course, the joke is maple syrup, but really it's energy and lumber, because Canada wants their own country, and they're going to recognize the state of Palestine. It's like, why am I in the middle? Why am I paying more for this? I'm not at war with Palestine, right? They're not okay. Like, yeah, Hamas is not good people. That's not the people of Palestine, and that's not, like, why am I having to pay more? And of course they back down like almost immediately, but it's like, again, like, well, I don't know why I'm here having to deal with this and having to listen to that. Just utterly confused about it.
Yeah, international relations is complicated.
Yes.
And that's the thing about politics. Look, I would also say, dude, welcome to Donald Trump. Man,
yes.
Go back and look at the whole history of Donald Trump. Right? The guy's a salesman. That's the thing that he's great at. He's great at selling things. He's great at selling himself. He is great at creating a brand that is synonymous with luxury and success, or at least it was for a time.
Yeah.
the Trump hotel or the Trump this or Trump that. It was like, oh, that must be nice. I mean, that's what Donald Trump does. Now,
I hope it's still salvageable.
the thing, he's never going to be able to deliver everything that he promised you during the election.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and he made such big promises. Him getting 40% of what he promised you is probably still a win. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the hard thing when grading what Trump is out there doing. Is it's just like, yeah, you know what? You're right. We all knew that he wasn't going to build a wall from the Rio Grande all the way to the Pacific Ocean. He wasn't going to build a big, beautiful 30-foot wall that was unassailable by 35-foot ladders.
Yes.
We all knew that wasn't going to happen.
Sure.
But that didn't stop there from being that promise.
Right.
Then, the same thing. We knew that in 24 hours he was not going to end the war in Ukraine.
No, that was, yes. No,
Right.
that was clear banter. Yes.
But to your point, look, I don't see, unless we just convince Ukraine to quit,
I don't see Russia
we're not. But that's the thing about the war in Ukraine. You can't beat, you're not going to win against the Russians if you don't actually just fight them. And I'm not advocating for Americans being involved in the conflict.
Right.
But I'm just like, look, you need to look at this thing and say, either we're going to require Ukraine to just surrender big swaths of its country to an invading force, or we're going to have to just really put the resources out there to win a war against the Russians.
Yes.
Those are basically what the two options ultimately end up being.
Yes.
And so whether it's us giving money or actually giving money so they can pay it back to us and buy our stuff, if it's the Europeans, whatever. In Ukraine, you're either going to invest the resources it takes to win the war, or just tell Ukraine, I'm sorry, you've lost. We're going to abandon you, and Russia can do what it's going to do. I don't see any way else that conflict ends.
Which they would fall eventually they would collapse if EU and America turns their back.
I mean, this is the problem that I would say America has had in wars largely since World War II. Is we don't go total war. If we're going to commit to go to war, commit to go to war. If you're not going to commit to go to war, then don't go to war. And we've had too many instances where as a country we've tried to minimal involve in war, and we've tried to figure out, okay, well, what's the minimum amount of effort and loss that we can put into to win the war? And it just creates too easy of an area for our enemies to be like, oh, okay, that's where your line is.
Yes.
Cool. I'm just going to hold back a little short of that line and wear you out.
Yes.
So it's like if you're going to go into Afghanistan, we did that in Iraq the first time. We fully committed. It was a full send. We are going to war. We are going to destroy this army. We are going to win. We did that. But that's my thing. It's my thing with Israel and Gaza. It's my thing with Ukraine and Russia. Is you've got too much if you're going to go to war, just go to war. And if you're not willing to go to war, then don't prolong human suffering by have these half wars that just, really they do nothing but just kill a bunch of people.
Yes, it definitely is. And I agree. I don't think Russia's going anywhere. Really, as far as I can tell, and again, goes back to why they want to cut off the people purchasing their oil, is because as far as all the markers, economically, they're humming along actually, fairly well. And I guess they do have people to kind of throw at this issue for some amount of time, more than Ukraine.
Right.
So we'll keep tracking that and seeing where that ends up. And again, I don't wish him ill will. I support the guy. I just I feel like I'm definitely not winning to the point where I feel sick of it.
But then again, this is the other part of it. And this is always sort of a thing when you have election cycle to election cycle, is it's just okay, well, it's like going to the gym and working out. You know, it's like, look, does it feel as good as sitting at home and eating comfort food? It doesn't. It feels miserable. You're sweaty. You smell. You know, you're not always having a good time. You get sore. Maybe you injure yourself while working out, all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, the pain is worth the gain. You know, you have better heart health, you have better lung capacity, you're not as likely to get dementia, you're, you know, staving off diabetes, like whatever the case may be. Like some of this, and I think that's how the White House would sell it, is like, yeah, these pain points, we told you there would be pain points.
Yep.
There's going to be stuff that, you know, isn't as much as we want to, but we're moving down the road, and in 5 years when we're more fiscally responsible, it'll all be worth it.
It'll all be worth it in 5 years.
That's the sell.
That's the sell. Okay, well, I didn't mean to be so pessimistic on everybody.
No,
but...
I think it's good as Republicans that we have this conversation, because I think we have too much of an environment right now where you either have to be like, Donald Trump is the best, he can do no wrong. You know, I am.
Yes. There's a lot of that.
If you deviate from loving everything that Trump does at all, you're a rhino, you're not a real Republican, you're all these terrible things.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, you know, we just have people that have just shut down. They just don't want to have the conversation anymore. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. They'll
You know,
be back
I mean,
in hopefully 2 years.
Right. Well, that's what everybody hopes. But I mean, I think you can kind of see it all over the state that you've got a lot of people that are just sort of like, I'm tired of the fight.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, was wanting to like come in and win and win and win, and that's just not really happening. And if I sit here and have concerns, I'm going to be attacked from both sides, right? Because I'll never make the left happy because I'm a Republican.
Yep.
And if I, you know, am active and involved and I don't fully support what Trump or, you know, whomever does, then I'm going to get attacked and called names from over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of live that to a certain extent, you know, and I always love playing devil's advocate to people.
Right.
So it's kind of fun for me, but
yeah, challenging ideas, it's supposed to make them better. As long as you're talking about the ideas and not the people, it makes it better. But I do think that you do have a lot of that. I think conversations like this are good. Hey, here are the things I'm not happy with. Why might that be? Let's chat about it.
Yeah.
I wish some of our elected officials would just honestly have conversations with us about this stuff too.
That would be really good if they would come and sit down a little bit longer, or, you know, I feel like we've seen less and less. I mean, JD Vance just went on another podcast. You know, this is not really the podcast season right now. It was all about being on a podcast during election, but like now it's like, hey, so here's what's actually going on. It's hard to catch people. You know, they kind of catch them sometimes in the hallways of the Senate and in the House, but they're running into their office pretty quick just because
Right.
it is a very tough time. So,
this is the whole thing about politics that makes all this stuff very hard. I
Yeah.
get it. Like if you're the Trump administration and you have a plan, right? You have a plan for where you would like to see all of your tariffs and all of your trade deals end up at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And the position that puts you in with Ukraine and with Israel and with all that stuff. Well, I mean, the one thing you don't want to do is let everybody know that.
right.
Right, you don't want to let your enemies around the world know, or your not even enemies, but your trade partners that you're negotiating with. You don't want to let them know where all your cards are, where you want to end up. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes all the sense in the world, but then it also creates a position where, like, well, I'm an American voter. Like, I deserve some transparency. I deserve to have some idea what you're planning to do or what you're trying to do. And that, I think, is the difficult tension that you inevitably have when it comes to government and transparency and any of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, they're holding their cards close, and then it comes off as that they are hiding when no, they're just plotting to help us a lot. And that's what I've been trying to tell everyone about Epstein files and the CIA and the FBI. I've said, no, these are good people, and they're just trying to help us. And it's just better if we don't know. It's just better if we don't know. Everyone, the Epstein files, who cares? Who cares about Epstein files, man? Like,
Yeah.
we got the big beautiful bill, man. Like,
But that's, we're talking in jest, but that's part of the problem is that there was a point in time where you did have some trust in the government, that you had people that were there, they were acting in your best interest.
yeah,
You might not always initially understand it, but there was a plan, there was something there. But I think when you have things like the whole Epstein fiasco, it's just like, well, how do I take any of these people seriously?
right.
Right? Like, how do I take Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or any of how do I take what they're telling me seriously?
Right.
The Democrats are dealing with that right now. I mean, my gosh, like I saw Elizabeth Warren on a podcast where, heaven, thank you for the podcast host that did this, like really put her feet to the fire about the whole Joe Biden competency thing.
Yeah.
And that's happening all over the place where Democrats that were, lying to the American people and saying that Joe Biden was fine and I was this and I saw him and he's sharp. But that wasn't true. And we all now know it wasn't true.
Sure.
So it's just like, okay, well, how do we trust y'all on absolutely anything? Because you lied to our face with regard to, what was the elderly senator from California?
Feinstein?
Dianne Feinstein. Like you lied to us about that.
Yeah.
You covered up her, dementia and all of her issues there. You covered this thing up with Biden. Like, how do we trust y'all on any of this stuff?
Well, and then the Republicans with McConnell. He's
Right.
having active seizures, I guess those are.
Right. Yeah. Hillary Clinton and the stuff in 2016 that was being covered up and hidden. So, like, American people rightfully don't believe what our elected officials are telling us. There is no just trust me.
Right.
Right? It's the fox in the hen house saying, oh, don't worry, I'm here to guard the eggs. It's fine. But, well, yeah.
We can wrap it up, man.
I think it is wrapping it up. I mean, it's like I don't like to leave on a downer like that, but
It's that week, dude. It's the week. It's next week. We're gonna come back and we'll start to kind of see the fallout of what happens with the redistricting, and we'll also kind of see if we can get any more trade deals. I think also next week we'll kind of see what the numbers for deportation look like, and then we'll have a couple events coming up too
right.
that we're going to announce. So that
We
should be fun.
I mean, it should be a fun fall, right? I mean, we don't have football season starting. I'm happy about that.
Yes, everyone's happy about
There's
that.
not any, we'll see what happens if there are special elections for Texas House seats, but it should be a summer or a fall where we have a little bit of fun. But look, if you're frustrated about the things that we're talking about here, if we're echoing some of the angst that you have and some of the issues, let people know about it. Right? Reach out to your elected officials. Get involved in your county party. Get involved in clubs. Get involved with the Better Dallas. Like, make your voice heard. Have an impact on stuff because it really, like, you can help move the ball. You're certainly not going to be able to get a seat in the Oval Office to be able to dress Trump up and down with things you're happy or not happy about. But, get out there and get involved. Don't let this frustration just be something that shuts you down, because if that happens, then you're surrendering control over your life and over your community to a lot of bad actors. And we certainly don't need and can't have that. So, as always, thank you for joining us. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to our channel, or whatever the version of subscribe is on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify. Drop us a comment. Let us know stuff that you want to hear. Maybe share your frustrations, or talk about how handsome Kyle looked tonight with the tie. But Thank you, as always, for joining us. We'll see you next week, and we appreciate you having this better conversation with us.
Hey, did you know A Better Conversations on social media? You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Following us will not only keep you up to date on our latest podcast drops, but will also keep you informed on current events around DFW, including election news, volunteer opportunities, and social events like late cleanups on Saturday mornings or our happy hours throughout the month, where you can meet like-minded people in a fun social setting. You can also meet local politicians and activists that are our guest speakers. Follow the links below to connect.